This presentation is on professional writing in the age of artificial intelligence. Let me start off by saying that the word professional is not an absolute, unchanging, carved in stone kind of thing. What is professional varies by different groups of people in different places, in different careers, in different times. So it's constantly changing. And these changes often persist even as people that are in charge may no longer agree with them. So what someone was taught as professional when they were young may no longer be considered professional today, or vice versa. Things that they were taught are unprofessional today might actually be quite okay. So you want to err on the side of caution because typically the people interviewing you or talking to you are going to be older than you, and they will have probably been educated with different standards of what professional might be. However, I always say the bottom line is you want to be authentic. You want to be true to yourself. You want to be hired for being who you are. So without taking it to any extremes, try to aim for a balance between what you think the assumptions of professional behavior are in a workplace that you're applying to and what is a natural way of just being yourself. So for example, what does it mean when we talk about professional writing? What we typically are taught is that professional writing needs to be standardized, unemotional, boring, uniform, and consistent. But things change. In the picture up above, you see a woman in the workplace with tattoo sleeves. When my first job in higher education, I was hired by a woman who said she would never ever hire anyone with tattoos because that was the professional lessons she had been taught when she was coming up. I guess I had a long shirt on or something and she didn't see my tattoos, but she hired me anyway. So you might sometimes realize and bear in mind that when you've been told your resume or a cover letter or emails have to be professional, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be standardized, boring, and uniform. In fact, what I'm going to argue is that AI writes this way. AI tends to write uniform, boring, cliche ridden language. And what you want to do is have a unique voice, an authentic voice, a personal voice that is professional, but also doesn't sound like artificial intelligence or a robot or machine. Another way to think of this is that we've all been taught, and we have taught everyone, to kind of write in the same way. This is what a resume sounds like. This is what a press release looks like. This is how you write a 5-paragraph paper. And now AI just copies that. So you can just let AI do it. AI can write a press release that perfectly follows the format of a press release. Fine, that's where we are. That's what the technology is today. But where that shifts the burden to is editing. You have to be a really good editor to take that AI slop and turn it into something that is more efficient, that sounds good, that reflects the unique voice of yourself or your organization. The first step in being a good AI editor is knowing what kind of mistakes to look for. Remember that artificial intelligence only knows mathematical probabilities. It doesn't know the meanings of any word. It just knows that this word is most often followed by this word. If it's followed by that word, it's all just about statistical probabilities. It doesn't really know any definitions. So you need to know the kinds of words that people commonly mistake and that AI can also make mistakes with. So these are pairs of words such as the ones I've shown here. Advice versus advise, effect versus effect, among versus amongst, among versus between, assure, insure, ensure, breath, breathe, capital, capital, complement, complement, disinterested, uninterested. Now, you don't have to memorize all of the specific definitions and differences between these. What you need to learn is that these are problem words, and just learn these problem words so that when you see it in something you write or something you edit from AI, it sets off an alarm, sets off your spidey sense, and you're like, let me look that one up and double check and make sure this is right. You need to know common mistakes so that you can make sure that they are correct. Here's some more examples of red flag words: defense, defense, emigrate, immigrate, e.g., which means for example, and i.e., which means that is. Empathy, sympathy, farther, further, flaunt, flout, imply, infer, it's with an apostrophe and it's without an apostrophe, lay versus lie, lead versus lead, loose, lose, principle, principle, stationary, stationary, than, then, there, to, whose, and your. Those latter examples you see people using wrong all the time, and you see them all the time coming out in auto-generated text that things like, Grammarly and spell check won't often catch because they are, real words. They're just not being used correctly. So these are some more words you need to be very aware of and know that when you see them, you need to look it up and verify it's being used correctly or incorrectly. In addition to being a sharp editor, what you need to do also is get good at things that AI can't do very well. Like I said, AI just knows what the most people do the most often. It just knows mathematical probabilities. It just knows that this word happens a lot, and it happens a lot within the context of that word. What it does not really understand is humor, creativity, narrative, like storytelling, and anything that is not the most common standard average response. In other words, rule breaking, thinking outside the box, being different. These are things that AI doesn't do well. It's trained to do the opposite. AI is trained to do what everyone else does all the time. So if you can inject your own unique voice, put a little humorous spin on things, come up with creative arrangements of words, tell stories, work on improving your skills in these areas, because these are the things that AI cannot do very well at all. And this is what human editors and human writers really are going to be expected to contribute now. In addition to knowing common errors to avoid, you want to learn to avoid certain cliches. A cliche is something that has been overused. It is tired, it is worn out, it is lazy. Stop doing it. AI, because it's just a mathematical probability, loves cliches. It goes towards things that are common. It chooses things that people do a lot. Therefore, it tends to do things that are kind of cringy, that are cliches, that are overdone. So these are phrases like, I am an avid reader, use of the word plethora, game changer, artisan, fresh, crucial, unlock, boasts, tapestry, unleash, elevate, curate. These words might sound professional because you've seen them in professional contexts before, but the truth is they've been so overused, they've become cliches and just kind of meaningless jargon that sounds actually like lazy writing, that you don't know what you're talking about. And AI generates tons of these. So if you're editing AI copy, one of the things you want to do is look for cliches and replace them with real, authentic language. Finally, cut. Get out that red pen, that X-Acto knife, those razors. Cut. AI tends to be repetitive and very wordy. So here's an example from ChatGPT. Notice how wordy, repetitive, and cliched this writing is. Leveraging AI like ChatGPT for content creation offers great benefits, enhancing efficiency and engagement. Yet, it's crucial to be mindful of AI's tendency to produce content that can sometimes appear repetitive or overly verbose. This redundancy can dilute the message's impact, emphasizing the need for content creators to carefully review and refine AI-generated outputs to ensure the final content remains concise, clear, and impactful. Well, let's see if we can edit that down to something a little shorter and more authentic sounding. You could just say, AI increases efficiency, but it can be repetitive and wordy. We must carefully edit generative AI writing to make it clear, concise, and powerful. That's so much shorter, and it has a lot less of these cliched business jargon terms in it too. Okay, so that's a few tips on how to write in the age of AI, things to look out for, and also things to edit if you are editing AI generated content.